This Miami Hurricanes offense is expected to be really good this year. We can talk about Cam Ward all day. We have before, we will again. We can talk all day about Damien Martinez, Xavier Restrepo, and so on. But it all starts up front with that offensive line.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for AllHurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is a loaded episode, guys. We are going to sit down with Dalton Wasserman, PFF analyst and co-host of the Pro Football Focus College Football Show. We're going to break down the numbers on Miami. We're also first going to talk with the anchor of the Miami Hurricanes offensive line and one of the elder statesmen of that O-line, joined by Miami Hurricanes starting left tackle Jalen Rivers, who is an important part of that offensive line, to say the very least. Jalen, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing so well, man, and we're all really pumped for the 2024 football season. It's felt like a long off season for all the fans out there. We can't wait to get it going in a couple of months. Are you chomping at the bit to get back out there?
Oh, definitely. We getting a little tease of it, right now, just competing a little bit, right now during the summer workouts. But, I can't wait for fall camp and the season, of course.
And I know you guys, Cristobal and all your coaches and the locker room, you guys do a good job of not looking too far ahead to anything. But do you allow yourself to at least get a little bit excited knowing that it's the Gators week 1, that you get to go up against an in-state rival?
I mean, yes, it's exciting to go against, SEC team, Florida Gators. We haven't played them in I don't know how long, but I haven't never played them. So it's great to, have that as our first game. But, of course, we're taking it day by day.
Yeah, it was 2019 was the last time. So that was, I guess, right. Well, what year did you come in? The year after that?
Literally, I came in that spring of 2020, so I just missed it.
Yep. You just missed it.
Yep.
And during your time on this offensive line, you've played so many different roles. Your versatility has just been so important to this team. Last season, of course, it was full-time at left tackle. You did a tremendous job there. Do you think, is that going to be the role again this year, or is there any chance you might move around?
I mean, you never know. Right now I'm at left tackle, but you never know.
Yep. And that's something, Jalen, I know you focus so hard on. Obviously, you're very good at every position on the offensive line, but you got really comfortable at left tackle last year, which everyone notes that's protecting the blind side. It's such an important spot on that offensive line. Did you feel like you really got extra comfortable at that position?
I did, because as all of us know, that my first 2 years, or not my first 2 years, but my second year and my third year here, I started at left guard. And then last season, I transitioned to left tackle, of course. So I really got comfortable with it just when I got note of our coaches said, hey, we want you at left tackle. I'm like, okay. So, of course, my whole high school years, or all my life, I was playing left tackle. Coming in, transitioning from the left side to right side to left guard. You get comfortable get back comfortable at left tackle. So yeah, throughout the whole season, I didn't get comfortable with it until probably the end, because each game, each rep we took in the spring practice and all that stuff, you still got to get comfortable at it and get good at it. I don't feel satisfied with where I was. Of course, I had a good year, but I never get complacent and be like, oh, I had a good year. You can always get better. So yeah, so you getting comfortable at it. I'm happy I got, good, I had a good season, but I can have a better one this year and build on top of what we did last year.
I believe that, Jalen. And assuming if you do stay at left tackle this year, you're probably going to have a new left guard next to you. It was, of course, Javion Cohen last year, who moved on to the NFL. Are you going to feel comfortable with whoever ends up lining up at left guard? Talk to me. You were watching guys like Okunlola and McCoy getting work there during the spring. Do you have that comfort level with whoever may step in?
You got to get comfortable with whoever you're playing next to, because you got to communicate. You all got to be on the same page. You got to know how each other play. So, of course, Matt McCoy, the spring game you saw, I was next to him. I was getting reps with Sampson at left guard too. They're all competing. Our whole room is competing for that spot. So with every spot, so it's not nothing solidified. Obviously we can't say we have a starting five right now, but with that left guard spot, as far as me getting comfortable who I'm playing next to, of course, I got to get comfortable with them. And I got to let them know, hey, this is how, me and Javo were successful last year with it. We got to, be even better than that and build on top of what me and Javo, our chemistry we had last year, and build that with whoever I play next to this year.
You guys had a new center transfer in back in January, Zach Carpenter from Indiana. What's he like, and has he fit in so far at that position?
Oh, he's fit in well. He's of course, Matt Lee was a great center we had last year, and everybody think, oh, that's hard shoes to follow. Zach, he's did a great job of filling those shoes. He's his own person, so you can't compare him to Matt Lee. So he might be quieter, but when it comes to football and playing that center spot, he gets all of our respect because he knows what he's doing, how he's doing it, and why he's doing it. So he gets us all on the same page. So he's filling that center spot very good.
You're one of the elder statesmen on that offensive line. Talk to me about the role you take as a leader, Jalen, and what does that mean to you to be not only one of the team leaders, of course, but one of the offensive line leaders?
It means a lot because when I first got to Miami, I got to see how it was. I had, eyes on all the leaders each year, and to be one of those, older guys, the veteran of that group, and be the leader for this year, me, Coop, and even Zach. We know how it is. We've been through a lot of things throughout the season. We've faced a lot of adversity to know how to do things and how to, learn from what, the past mistakes we did. So, we know what to show the guys. This is how we did it last year. This is how we did it. We got to build from that, learn from that. So it means a lot to be one of those guys on the team that people look up to and want to hear from. So I might not be the most vocal guy, but what needs to be said will be said by me, and I lead by example too. So whatever I'm doing right, and I try my best to, not be perfect because nobody's perfect, but I do my best to do things right, and people see that from me and they want to learn from me. So, I accept that challenge and I accept that, and I'm glad to be one of those guys people look up to.
It's going to be an exciting year this year for the offensive line when you look at new quarterback and new stud running back in town as well. Let's start with the quarterback, because you went through all of spring football with Cam Ward. What stands out to you most about your new starter?
Yeah, he's a great guy. I love to, be protecting him and be blocking from him. He's a great guy to be. Like, as soon as he stepped foot on campus, it was a connection like this right away he made, just not with the skill guys or his receivers, with us, the whole team. So he's a competitive guy, and anybody can tell you that on the field during spring, he just talking to the defense, getting reaction to them. It's competitive each day during team reps, during whatever 7-on-7. I hear people be like, oh, they be mad at Ken because he be talking trash. So it's great to have a person like that to play for, but it's a great person to have at the quarterback position too, because he brings a different energy to the team and brings that life to our offense and to the team in general. And people feed off of that. So it's great to have a guy like that.
Yeah, new star running back transferred in. I think he's only been on campus now for a couple weeks. Have you had a chance to be around Damien Martinez and any workouts recently? And I'm sure, because I've talked to a couple of other of your offensive line teammates, Jalen. I know you guys have watched some film of Damien Martinez. So what do you expect?
Yeah, right now I haven't spent too much time around him because he's in a different lift group than us, and we haven't been around him as much. But he's a great guy. Just to offer little conversations we've had before, he's a great person, and I'm getting forward to learning him, even more. Granted, he just got on campus 2 weeks ago or last week or something. I can't wait to hang around him more because we're going to be blocking for him. So we need a running back, that connectivity with all the people on the team, but specifically our quarterbacks, our running backs, everybody. So I can't wait to be around him more and, talk with him and build that connection.
What are your team goals, Jalen, heading into this upcoming 2024 season? Because there's definitely a lot of positive. I don't want to make your head too big or anything, but there's definitely a lot of positive buzz about Miami this offseason, and it looks like this is going to be one of the most talented rosters we've seen in South Florida in quite a while.
Mm-hmm. I'll say our team goals are, because we talk about them a lot in our leadership council meetings and stuff, but we want to be the most disciplined team. Yeah, we can say, oh, we went on the ACC and, potentially a national championship, but we got to deal with the smaller things. We got to be, on point with the off field stuff. We want to be on point, when it comes to practice, being, not dead or like just bringing life and just want to get each other better and, just being 1-0 each day. So we want to, deal with that before even worrying about, winning games. Because we always talk about, we want to be ACC. We want to be undefeated in our conference, going into, that's their biggest goal each year. But we want to deal with the little things on and off the field. So, yes, great discipline, not being late to things or anything like that. We want to deal with just everybody, how to do things right, just in general.
What's your height and weight at these days?
So I measure that, I say 6'6", but really I'm like 6'5" and like a half right now, but I'm weighing 330 right now.
Dang.
Yeah.
You feeling lean? I feel like every time I see you're looking like more chiseled or more rocked up than the last time.
Yeah. So I mean, really I've stayed at 330, 335 for the past like 2 years because I might look chiseled each year because I'm working on body fat. I'm working on how to keep putting on muscle while I'm trying to lose the fat, but keeping my weight too. So I'm not just trying to just lose the weight, lose 10 pounds or whatever. I'm trying to play with it and just see what I'm really comfortable at, to where I can play at it and where, I feel the most comfortable at. So I'm feeling more comfortable with my weight each day because I'm working on it, just seeing where I want to be at. So just working on body fat, putting on more muscle mass.
It's been great, the last few years watching your development and also the last couple of years watching Big Coop. You mentioned him earlier. And then last year, seeing CC Maui-Noa get thrown into the fire, starting every game at right tackle. We had a chance to interview him a few weeks ago. How's CC doing this? I know he was recovering from something, but I know he's working out now. How's he doing?
Yeah, like I was about to say, he's come back from injury and he hated to, because he hates being he doesn't like being away from football. He hates, not being a part of what we do, like our workouts and stuff. He always tries to find a way, but we got to tell him to chill out because he's trying to rush himself or something. So we'd be like, chill out, we need you. So just take it one day at a time, just, keep recovering. But now, he's finding his way back. And it's great to have him, a part of the old line. Of course, like you said, he got through in the fire real early as a true freshman, and he did a great job. So, and he's just not your regular freshman either. So now he's a second year, but back last year, he just was more intelligent than any freshman I was. He was probably more intelligent than me coming in as a true freshman, looking at, the game differently than I did. But he's very talented, very blessed for his size, and he's very intelligent, like I said. But this year, we all of us expect even more than what he did because he had a great season last year. Imagine how he's going to look a year from now, next year, this year even. He's going to be a monster. He already is, but he's going to be one of the best. I feel like he's going to be a first-round pick very soon in the upcoming drafts, maybe, 2 more years from now, 3 more years from now. So I expect a lot from him, and he's a great player. And I have a huge respect for him.
No doubt. Well, we love here chatting with Jalen Rivers. Of course, we're deep into the off season now, but within about a month, a little over a month, fall practices are going to be here before we know it. And we have the privilege of talking to Jalen thanks to our friends at Canes Connection. You're part of that collective, Jalen. What does it mean to be a part of the Canes Connection family?
Yeah, it means a lot because how much they pour into us, we're pouring back into them because we respect them a lot. And they're not just here like, oh, we're the collective. No, they're just great people. They're positive. We like being around them too. So it's a pleasure being a part of Canes Connections. And we want people that's invested into us watching games and, all that to invest back in the Canes Connections, because if you care for us, you'll care about what they're doing for us as well. So it means a lot. And I'm glad to be a part of this organization.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know you love your coaches as well, Jalen. What's it like going through practices with Alex Mirabal and then getting a lot of attention from Mario Cristobal as well, given he's still an
Mhm.
offensive line coach at heart?
Yeah, so I say this every year. Like Coach Cristobal, obviously he was offensive lineman himself and played here. Back when he played, what was that in like the '80s or something like that?
Yeah,
Um,
80s into the into the early
80,
90s. Yeah.
yeah, early, yeah. So he has a lot of experience and he's been through, a championship team and been with the greats and all that stuff. So it's great to have him as our head coach and has an offensive lineman as our head coach. But Alex Mirabal, Coach Mirabal, man, he's a great coach, and I'm glad to be coached by him. And that's another reason why I wanted to come back another year because, yeah, we did great last year, but I want to be coached by that man one more time just to get me to where I want to get at. And I just feel like I haven't reached my potential, and I feel like he can get me there. And he's a great guy to be developed by, and I respect him highly as well. But yeah, Coach Cristobal, he's around us, but he really lets Coach Mirabal do his own thing and coach us because Coach Cristobal doesn't really need to be heavily involved because Coach Mirabal is that great of a coach. But of course, Coach Cristobal, being that offensive lineman himself, he gives us tips. He might be, observing the drill or whatever we're doing and give us feedback, but he tried to stay away. But I know it's kind of hard for him because he loves being involved with us offensive lineman, but he lets Coach Mirabal do his thing because Coach Mirabal is one of the greats, if not the greatest coach I've been coached by.
Love it. Hey, we're going to be talking a little later with Markel Bell. Well, what can
Mhm.
you say about it? The dude's a skyscraper? What can you
Yeah.
say about Markel and how he's been doing?
I'm gonna say he's tall, but he plays, he plays quick, he plays long, like he's a long player. So it's great to have him. And of course, this is only his like third year playing. And I think, I don't know, or I'm saying like in high school, this is going on his third year or something like that. But or second, I forgot. But he's developed tremendously. When he first stepped foot on campus, in January, till now, he's a different player in my eyes. He's taken on, the coaches, tips and coaching, and he's leaning on to me too, and all the other, people that he values as great offensive linemen that we have right on our program. But he's leaning heavily onto me, asking me questions, watching film, and wanting to learn. Just not from me, but the coaches or everybody else giving each other tips, and we're learning from him too. We're just feeding off each other. So it's great to have a guy that willing to learn and wants to be great. So he's going to be a great player. Also, we have a great, set of linemen that we have in our program right now.
It's always great to hear. He's Jalen Rivers. Make sure you follow him on X at Jalen Rivers01.
Mhm.
Jalen, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. And I know you're working hard, busting your butt this offseason. So best of
Mhm.
luck. And we can't wait to watch you guys play football again come late August.
And thank you, Alex, for this. Thank you.
How does that not get you fired up? Unbelievable stuff there by Miami Hurricanes starting left tackle Jalen Rivers. When we come back, we're going to get the analytic point of view of what Miami can get done on the field this season, which position groups are going to be the strengths of the team, which could be the question marks or the weaknesses. How is Cam Ward going to fit in South Florida? We are going to be joined by Pro Football Focus analyst and co-host of the PFF College Football Show, Dalton Wasserman. He will join us next, guys. We're going to take a deep dive on this Hurricanes roster. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. We are also proudly brought to you by Game Time. This is the only ticket app that I use. We all love going to Major League Baseball games over the summer, and Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. because prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Guys, you get the best deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. They give you the total price up front, no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. They have a lowest price guarantee, or else Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Guys, we were getting Stanley Cup Finals tickets cheaper, hundreds of dollars, sometimes cheaper on Game Time than any other app. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So happy to chat with another one of our friends at Pro Football Focus College. He hosts the show with Max Chadwick, who's a friend of the show. Dalton Wasserman is with us. Dalton, how are you?
Doing good, man. The season's rolling up real quick here. We're at the end of June already. We got less than 2 months to go before kickoff, and I can't wait for it.
Oh, it's creeping up so fast, and I love it. I love every sec because I cannot wait. Now, Dalton, I mentioned at the top, and I talked to you about this off the air as well. I'm obviously very self-aware as basically a lifelong Miami guy that, over the last 20 years, Miami has had a nasty habit of performing below expectations, and expectations are starting to rise up again. There's a lot of talent on the roster. Do you believe this could be the year that Miami actually makes a case to compete for an ACC championship and maybe a spot in the expanded 12-team playoff?
Yeah, to your point, and it really should be a year where they look like the most talented team in the ACC, right? And even the metrics tell you last year they only went 7-6, but in our grading they were the 12th best team in the country. So when you look at different things like turnover margin and just mistakes in late game situations, obviously the game against Georgia Tech is a big sore spot. They have underperformed, and they underperformed last year, and this year's team looks more talented than last year's team. You look at all the transfers, especially they brought in quarterback, defensive line, wide receiver, offensive line. Like, they have brought in premium talent at premium positions. They look to me like the most talented, well-rounded team in the ACC. I think you have a lot of teams like Clemson, who's really good on defense, or SMU and Georgia Tech, who are really good offensively, and Florida State's kind of an unknown with as much as they lost, whereas Miami, at least on the field, at least the talent and the names that you look at in their depth chart, they look like the most talented, well-rounded team in the ACC, and they should feel like that this is their year to win the ACC.
And you mentioned new quarterback, Cam Ward. I had a chance to watch him in spring football. He looks as good, if not better than advertised, based on what I saw from him at Washington State the last couple of years. How high are you and all the analysts at Pro Football Focus on? Because I will say one thing: your guy Max Chadwick seems a little bit down on Ward. So I don't know if you got a very volatile player is something that Max often brings up with me. So how do you see Ward fitting at Miami?
He's absolutely right. I think what it would be for me, the more I watch him, is probably cautiously high. Like, definitely, 2 excellent years at Incarnate Word. Got a lot better at Washington State last year, despite their win-loss record. But you have a very clear line with Cam Ward, where there's 2 things he wants to do. He wants to get rid of the ball in a timely fashion, and he wants to rip it downfield. It's a strange combination, but on 10-plus yard throws and on throws under 2.5 seconds, he was in the top 15 in the country. He was up there with the Caleb Williams and the Michael Penix and those guys in that category, right? And actually, on throws under 2.5 seconds, his passing grade was second behind Bo Nix. So the one thing that comes into play with Cam Ward that makes him volatile is ball security, right? 14 fumbles was 4th most by any player in the country. And when plays get extended, right, and he starts to improvise, some guys like a Caleb Williams, right, or a Drake May are great improvisers. Cam Ward at times it's just the same thing where he's loose with the football, right? And we saw Miami last year. To me, the biggest reason in the middle of their season, other than the demoralization of the Georgia Tech loss, was you have Tyler Van Dyke threw 11 picks in a stretch of 5 games, and they were losing, even though they were more talented than the team across from them. They were losing on turnover margin, right? The turnovers were coming, in spades at times. You just can't turn the football over. Turnover margin is still arguably the biggest correlator of your win-loss record of any statistic, right? And you just can't have that if you're Miami. And if Cam cleans it up, he has all the weapons around him, and he has the ability. He has shown the ability to throw the football vertically. And I was watching him yesterday, and his receivers at Washington State give off a very similar dynamic to the top three guys you have at Miami. There's a little bit different flavors, right? You have a slot guy in Restrepo. You've got Sam Brown, who's a big after the catch, 6'2", 200, really good, just really physical player on the outside. And Jacoby George was really good for Miami last year too after the catch. They had a similar dynamic at Washington State, excuse me. It's similar types of receivers, and he had to carry the load, right? Washington State was behind in a lot of games. I think the biggest difference is going to be the pass protection, right? Miami last year went from 58th in the country in pass protection in 2022 all the way up to 13th. Now, I thought that would have worked in Tyler Van Dyke's favor, but Cam Ward was working with some rough offensive line play at Washington State. If that's a lot better for him now at Miami too, and he's got a clean pocket, he can be a little more calm in the pocket, he could have a really good season.
Yeah, and going back, I hate to. I know some people are going to rip me for dwelling in the past, but was it puzzling to you watching some of those Van Dyke interceptions last year? Because there are all these montages that keep going out on social media of clean pocket, plenty of time to throw, interception after interception. I mean, what do you think happened there?
Yeah, I watched him a lot, watched him prepping for even watching Wisconsin going forward this year where he is now. He's one of those guys, kind of old school actually, where it's almost reminds me, I always thought Brad Johnson was the name that came up to me, right? Just a statue guy with a cannon for an arm. He believes in his arm. He might have the strongest arm in college football right now. He just believes he can fit it through any window. That's what I see the most often is there's, early in the year, there was a little bit I was worried about when he got blitzed and he had to throw off his back foot. And sometimes it would be a little less accurate. But to me, what I saw most often was he's got an A-plus arm. He's got just an absolute cannon, and he tries to fit it in windows that just aren't there. Now, there are times when he does fit it through those windows, but the gunslinger part, it does come in waves, right? We used to see it with Brett Favre too, where it's like, man, he just threw 10 interceptions in 3 games because he's just trying to fit everything into every window. That was the thing with Van Dyke. It's a little bit different than the category of, say, a Cam Ward's mistakes, where a lot of his is kind of improvising and late in the play and trying to do too much. I guess it's two different versions of trying to do too much, but Van Dyke certainly he's got an A-plus arm, and he believed in it a little bit too often.
All right, so going back to what Miami has on the roster now, you talked a little bit about the wide receiver dynamic, and I know PFF grades Miami's top 3 very highly, but what would you say is the position group on the Miami Hurricanes that you think is going to be the top group this coming season?
So the fun part is they've really got several that are in contention. Max actually just recently put out his top 10 position unit rankings for every team in college football. And they've got the number 6 running back unit, number 7 receiving core, the number 8 O-line. But the one that stands out to me, and I think both of us, is he has them as the 3rd best defensive line in all of college football. And I think you could argue them as high as number 1, right? He's got Ohio State and Michigan ahead of them, 2 amazing defensive lines as well, a ton of NFL players on all 3. This is the deepest defensive line in the country. Reuben Bain Jr. last year is a true freshman. The only Power 5 edge rusher who had a higher pass rush grade as a true freshman was Myles Garrett. He's in elite company, right? Then you've got guys transferring in. Tyler Barron, Elijah Alston, Marley Cook, Simeon Barrow. This is just a loaded unit. Like Tyler Barron was a really good pass rusher, one of the 6 or 7 best pass rushers in the SEC last year. Elijah Alston finished 2nd in the FBS last year at Marshall behind Leatu Latu in overall grade. And Leatu Latu is like a PFF god. Like he sets like PFF records, and he was 2nd behind him. He is legit. He's a legit outside linebacker, dip and rip type pass rusher. Simeon Barrow had 3 really good years at Michigan State. He's an awesome player. And you're getting back Akeem Mesidor, who was fantastic in 2022. He's the 14th best edge player in the country in 2022. He just had his injuries last year. This is a loaded defensive line. I think if there's 2 reasons that Miami would win the ACC, it's improved ball security from Cam Ward, and it's this D-line. This is the unit, not just for this team. This defensive line is the unit to watch for the entire conference. That's how deep and talented they are.
Now, an area, and I don't know what you guys do with this from an analytics standpoint, because, usually the area we talk about being the biggest question mark is Miami's defensive backfield. But part of the reason why it's such a big question mark is outside of a couple of guys, Daryl Porter Jr., who had a good year last year, and Mish Powell, who transferred over from Washington from a good year. So a lot of inexperience there, a lot of unproven commodities. So what do you guys gather about Miami's defensive backfield? And, is that, how much of a question mark is that in your eyes?
So I think at corner they're going to be fine, right? You're bringing back Daryl Porter, you're bringing back Damari Brown. Porter had the 7th best coverage grade in the ACC, and Powell did a really, really nice job in the slot at Washington during their national title run. The bigger question to me is up the middle at linebacker, where they're much better against the run than in coverage, and at safety, where you lost both Cam Kinchens and James Williams to the NFL draft, right? So it's down the middle of the field. Coverage, if I'm looking at playing against Miami, if the pass rush doesn't kill my quarterback, I'm looking to throw down the middle of the field. I believe Porter and Powell and those guys can play on the outside. They stand a chance. Not sure if we'll see a lot of man coverage this year from Miami. I know they probably, for me, with this defensive line they have now, I would be blitzing a lot less. I would be helping in coverage. They have every bit of the talent to run like, those old New York Giants NASCAR packages out there where you've just got 4 pass rushers. For me, like Bain, Mesidor, Barron, Alston, those 4 guys would be all out there in a pass rush unit, even though they're all edge players. Let's go, right? Let's get the NASCAR thing going. Let's beat you with a 4-man rush, because especially in college, if you can help in coverage, with the wide side of the field and teams running so many zone coverages, now you see very few teams run a ton of man coverage in college. I think the more help they can give those guys, especially down the middle in coverage, you've got an inexperienced safety group, especially. The D-line should be able to complement them, right? And if they can get there, then it makes the secondary's life easier. But that would be a concern. You lose both safeties, and you got a secondary that just doesn't look quite as elite as their D-line.
Yeah, no, it's very well said. He's Dalton Wasserman, co-host of PFF's College Football Show. And he mentioned earlier that he and Max Chadwick, they've been talking a lot about Miami. So that's another reason for all the Canes fans to support the PFF College Football Show. You and Max both do a tremendous job, Dalton. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'll hit you with one more, though, on the way out, right? You mentioned earlier, Miami has the talent to win the ACC. But what's your pick? Have you made a pick? Who do you think wins the conference this year?
I have not. I think this is maybe I think it's the hardest conference to pick. I think it's one of the hardest questions in college football right now, the ACC and the Big 12 both. Look, I know the 2 bigger conferences get all the run on TV and all the national spotlight. Both these conferences are wide open, and especially the ACC, because you've just got so many, right? You've got Miami looks like the most well-rounded, but you also, like you've been saying, they have a history of underachieving. Clemson's defense is great, but their offense isn't. SMU they were one of the best teams in the country last year, but they're moving up and they have to play Power 5 competition every week now. Then you've got teams like Georgia Tech with a really good offense, and they're shaky on defense. Florida State lost a lot. Virginia Tech is a sleeper that a lot of people like this year. But for me, no, I think I haven't made a decision on this yet. I've got about another month to go before we make the prediction official on our episode. But I think for me, between Miami and Clemson's just always there. And I think there are some sleepers. There's some real sleepers in this conference. I think the 2 I look at are SMU and Virginia Tech. SMU, when they get in a rhythm, can really, really score. And Virginia Tech, they can run the ball. They've got a really good defensive line. They started getting really hot at the end of last year. There's a lot of teams in this conference I like. I haven't even mentioned NC State, who is probably going to be ranked going into the season. They're always really good on defense. But Miami, if I do lean towards Miami when that time comes, I would say it's because they're the one team I feel like has something on both sides of the ball. I feel like there's a lot of teams in the ACC that are one-sided, and Florida State's a mystery because they just lost everything in the draft. Absolutely everything. So they're even the hardest team to predict. And if Mike Norvell coaches, a team with a bunch of transfers and DJ Uiagalelei and all of that, that's an interesting situation too, where you go, well, there's still Florida State, right? There's still some of those guys that are back. It's just not the primetime guys that all got drafted. So I think it's the most wide open conference, but Miami should be right near the top of those predictions for most people.
Huge thank you to Dalton Wasserman for sitting down with us, and of course, Jalen Rivers. And guys, Jalen Rivers was brought to us by Canes Connection, premier collective in the country. And I know a lot of folks, when you see all the big recruits Miami's landing, when you see the transfer portal Miami's done, you see how well run Miami's collective is. A lot of folks ask me, how do you become a part of Canes Connection? Well, very simple. You go to canesconnection.com, take a look at the different membership tiers that start at just $25 a month. And if you want to sign up courtesy of Locked On Canes, we got a hookup for you. Guys, we have a deal. If you use our code LOCKED, that's LOCKED, use our code LOCKED when you sign up at canesconnection.com. They're going to give you 20% off your first month at any membership tier. 6 membership tiers starting at $25 a month, all the way up to $1,000 a month. So, the higher you go, the more savings you get. 20% off with our code LOCKED. Check it out. Get some skin in the game at canesconnection.com. So huge shout out and thank you to everyone for making Locked On Canes your first listen or your second listen, because we had a Herbert Scroggins episode in the morning. We've been very busy this week. Thank you, Mario Cristobal and company, for keeping Locked On Canes on our toes. We will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.